In the last video, we looked at example 1.2.6 and found that for this subset of E2, property 2 fails, and so it is not a subspace. In this video, we'll be looking at a different subset of E2 again. So this time, W will be the set of X, Y, and R2 so that X is bigger or equal to 0. I want to prove again that this is not a subspace of the Euclidean space. All right, so let me sketch it. I find it helpful when it's in R2 because we're so good at sketching things in R2. This is X, this is Y, so X bigger than 0 or equal to 0 is going to be the. All right, so we want to prove that this is not a subspace. So we want to figure out which one of the three properties, or maybe more than one, fails. So property 1 is about 0. I claim that it holds in this case because 0, 0 is in W. All right, fine. Property 2, I claim it holds as well because if I take something, sorry, it's not 0, it's Y. If I take two vectors in W, x1 is bigger or equal to 0, x2 is bigger or equal to 0, then their sum would still have positive or non-negative at least x coordinate. All right, so it has to be property 3 that fails. And just to make sure this is super clear, all of this was really to show you that property 1 and property 2 hold, but you don't have to prove this. So let me put it in gray just to show you this you don't actually need as part of a complete solution. You need to think about this to figure out what property fails, but you don't, once you've found a property that fails and found a counterexample, you don't need to argue any of this. So property 3 fails. That means there has to be a vector in W and it has to be a K so that K times W isn't in W. All right. If I take K positive, I'm just going to stretch it bigger. So if I take this vector and stretch it or shrink it, it's still going to be in the yellow. What's going to make it more interesting is if I flip it. The flip will take me out of the yellow. All right, so let's take a simple element. Let's take one. Well, if I look at this, let's take one. No, let's take 1, 0. It doesn't need to be the green one. This is in W as x, which is 1, is bigger or equal to 0. Now, I want to flip, so I'm going to take a negative k. The simplest one is just negative 1. This is in R. Right, so I found an element of W. I found a k in R, and then k times v is minus 1 times 1, 0. That's going to be minus 1, 0. This isn't in W, as its x component is minus 1, which is not greater or equal to 0. So property 3 fails, and so W is not a subspace of E2. In some cases, in some examples, you'll have a couple of properties. Property 2 and property 3 might both fail, but at least one of them fails for sure if I ask you to show that it's not a subspace.